Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti. I am MrPhotographer.com. You know, with an application such as Photoshop or Capture One, you could really customize the workspaces in those apps to really fit your needs. Lightroom's a little different. As a matter of fact, they don't even call the work area in Lightroom a workspace. They call it an interface. And you can customize it a little bit, but not as much as some other apps. In this video, we're going to talk about what you can do. Now, I'm going to list everything I know off the top of my head, and I'm sure I'm going to miss some things. If there's anything I miss in the comments below, let me know what it is and how you customize Lightroom to work best for you. Now, first of all, let's talk about the panels. In Lightroom, there's of course 4 panels. You have one on the left, right, and on the top and the bottom. And you could do a lot of things with these panels. For example, if you just want to resize the panels, if you go to like in between, let's say the left panel and the viewer, you can see how the cursor turns into this horizontal arrow. You could then stretch out the panel or shrink it down. And you could do that with the bottom panel and the right-hand panel as well. So if you want to make this film strip larger, you could do it smaller, you could do it, and the right-hand panel as well. So you could do that with those 3 panels. Also, you could control whether or not the panels are open or closed. And you could just do that by clicking on these little triangles. So if I click on the triangle on the left, I close down that left panel. And the other 3 panels have those little triangles as well. But you could make the panels more automatic. What you need to do is just go over to the panel you want to affect and right-click on that little triangle. And you could see that a little pop-up menu appears. And we could do, let's say, Auto Hide and Show. And with Auto Hide and Show, by default, the panel will be closed. And if I bring my cursor over towards the left, it will appear. And then as I go back over the image again, you can see it disappears. A lot of people don't like that because if their cursor just gets close to the left-hand side, in this case, because it's the left panel, the panel will pop out and it's annoying. And you could do that with the other panels as well. Well, other options are, if you right click on that, you could just do auto hide. And with auto hide, it is closed. And if you go over it, it won't pop out. But if you click on the little triangle, it will appear. But it won't be permanent. So if you move your cursor away, it disappears. A lot of people prefer that. If I right click, we could do manual. And by default, that's manual is on all of the panels. So we could just manually close them down. And another option you may have noticed is at the bottom, sync with opposite panel. So whatever this panel does, that left-hand panel will do as well. So if I close that right-hand panel, the left-hand panel closes as well. Personally, I don't like that. And personally, I prefer auto hide. Now, what you do in the panels, let's say in the develop module, is independent of the library module. So you can see when I'm over here in the library module, that left-hand panel is there. And I have options there as well. If I right click, I have the same options. I could do auto hide there with that left-hand panel if I want. But personally, I prefer the left-hand panel in the library module to be there all the time. So the modules, the panels in the modules are independent of one another, not just develop in library, but let's say if we go to slideshow, the left-hand panel is independent of those other modules. So you could come into each module and customize whether or not the panels show automatically or manually with each panel. So those are the panels themselves. Now, as far as the actual items on the panel, you have control over that as well. You have a little bit more control in the develop module. So let's temporarily just go to the library module and show some of this. Now over here on the right hand panel, you can see there's quick develop, keywording list, metadata, and comments. If I right click on any of those, a little menu pops up and you can see there's check marks next to all those items. That means those items will show. If I don't do, let's say, any quick develop at all, I could just click on that and quick develop will disappear. If I want to bring it back, just right click and quick develop will come back. Now, further on that menu, further down, you'll see solo mode. Solo mode is just something that normally you could click on these little individual tabs and have them all open, and you'd have to scroll like all the way to like get to something towards the bottom. Well, if you have solo mode on, it will close down all tabs when you open a new one. So we'll go to solo mode, and you can see that the metadata tab is open. And if I go to quick develop, the metadata tab closes, and so on. And personally, I prefer solo mode. And again, that is independent on every single panel throughout all the different modules. So over here on the left-hand panel, we have the same options. If I right-click on any of the tabs, we see we have the check marks next to catalog, folders, collections, and published services. And then we have solo mode. And then we could either just expand them all or collapse them all if we want to do that as well. So you have those options there. And again, that goes independently through each module. So you could customize all of them to suit your needs. Now, down towards the bottom right here, this little strip is called the toolbar. And you could make that toolbar disappear if you want by hitting the T key on your keyboard, T for toolbar. Also, you have some stuff on that toolbar. You see we have labels and soft proofing, and you could control what shows up here. Go to the far right and you'll see there's a little triangle, and if you click on that, and let's say that I don't want soft proofing on there, I could just go to where soft proofing is and click on it to remove the check mark, and soft proofing disappears. So you could see the options. You could have flagging, rating, color labels, navigate, slideshow, zoom, grid overlay, and soft proofing all there. So if I want grid overlays, there's a grid overlay, and I could just hover over the slider and then a grid appears, and I could control how large the grid is with the slider, and whether or not the grid automatically appears when I go over the slider itself, or it's always there, or it's never there. So personally, I don't use grid overlay, but you get the idea. So you could control what is on the toolbar with that. Now below the toolbar is this little real estate above the film strip, and you don't really have as much control here, but over on the right you have filters, so you could filter what you're looking at down here in the film strip. And if you don't want to see all those filters, just click on the word filter and it will collapse down. Click on filter again and it will reappear. Also down here on the film strip itself, and I'll make it bigger so you can see that I have star rating showing and I have flags showing, and you have control over what shows in each individual image in the film strip. So if we right click right on any of the images in the film strip and go down to the bottom view options, you can see I have just about everything checked. I'm showing badges, I'm showing ratings and picks, I'm showing stack counts. I don't really use stack, so there's really that I guess I don't need checked. Show image info tooltips, show index number, and show photos in Navigator. Now, for example, you can see those numbers in the top left-hand corner. That's the index number. If I turn that off by removing that check mark, you can see those numbers disappear. If I want to bring it back, I could go back to View Options and go to Show Index Numbers, so those numbers return. So you have some control over what is displayed in each individual thumbnail of the film strip right there. Now, let me go back over here and let me put that back on manual so you could see. Now at the bottom of my panels, you could see that I have a logo right here. And over here at the top, you can see how it says Adobe Lightroom Classic and it has my name. You have control, first of all, what you could have displayed in this top left-hand corner. If you click this, just right-click on it, you could see that I have my Adobe ID showing. You could change that to just show Lightroom Classic. And then you could right-click on it and you could personalize it. And I happen to have it personalized to my logo. So I could right-click again and go to the Adobe ID. Up there, I prefer my Adobe ID. Now, you also could access this on a Mac under your Lightroom Classic menu down to Edit Identity Plate Setup. I believe that's under the Edit menu on a Windows computer. If I'm wrong on that, please correct me in the comments below. But we'll go to Identity Plate Setup, and you can see that it's showing my Adobe ID. And as I mentioned, I could do Lightroom Classic, so it will show Lightroom Classic. Or I could go to Personalized, and I have it set up to show my logo if I wanted to do that, and you could see it there. Now also you could change the font of everything that's over here, Library, Develop, Map, Book, Slideshow, and so on. So we could change the font there to any Adobe font you like, and you could change the size of the font as well. Now, again, personally, I like my Adobe ID showing up there, over there at the top left. And the reason why I prefer my Adobe ID there is because I have my logo down here. And you can see it's on the right-hand panel as well. And to do that, what you would do is you would go to Preferences. On a Mac, Preferences is under the Lightroom Classic menu. On a PC, I know it's under the Edit menu. So we'll go to Preferences, and you go to Interface, and you can see that end marks. That's what that's called. And if we go there, by default, it will have no end marks at all. And if you go, you could have a small flourish. You see that little flourish? You go there, and I have a logo. And then you could go to Panel End Marks folder, and it will open the folder where your end marks are, and that's where I have my logo kept. So you could just do that logo, and that's what I prefer to have there. You could also change the font size from small to large. That's just the fonts that are on the panels and throughout Lightroom. And you have to see those changes, you'll have to close down Lightroom and reopen it. Now, on some monitors, it won't look any different, but on other monitors, you'll see a significant change. Generally speaking, very generally speaking, the larger your monitor, the less of a change you'll see. The smaller your monitor, the more of a change you'll see. Just like I said, I have it on small. It doesn't really matter. Now, you see this option right here, lights out. What do you want the screen color to be? By default, it will show black, and the dim level is 80%. And what that is referring to is when you hit the L key on your keyboard. If I hit the L key once, it dims the screen 80%. If I hit the L key again, it's totally black. If I hit the L key again, we're back to normal. And you have that control here in Preferences. So again, you could go just not to totally black. You could do medium gray or something. And if you don't want the first time you hit the L key to be 80%, if you want it more or less, you could change that there as well. Now, as far as the background itself, you have control over what is displayed behind the image, right? I have it set to dark gray for behind the image. That's right here. Now, the secondary window, you have control of that too. The secondary window is down here. If you click on this little number 2, you'll see a secondary window pops up, and that's the color around there. So we'll go back up to Preferences. Oops, sorry. Go up to Preferences, and then I'll move it over a little bit so we can better see. And that secondary window, let's say I want black. So it's totally black around the image, or it's totally white, or it's light gray. I prefer dark gray on that and the main window. Now you also could access that by just right-clicking on that area around the image, and you could change the color of that background as well right there. Now over here along the top, we of course have the modules, and we can control what modules are shown there. Just right-click on any of them, and you can see we have those familiar check marks again. And let's say you never use the map module, you could just remove the check mark and remove it. And let's say you never use the web module, you could go and remove that as well. So you could customize what goes along the top. Now, in latter versions of Lightroom, you have a little bit more control over the right-hand panel on the Develop module. Now again, if you right-click, you could then customize the Develop panel cosmetically where the tabs are. So we'll go there, and you can see that we have the basic tab, the tone curve, and so on. Now, if you want to remove one, let's say you never use split toning. You can see split toning's right there. Just click on the little checkbox and then click Save, and you can see split toning is gone. Now, if you want to bring it back, just right-click on it, go to that Develop panel settings again, add that check mark again, and click Save, and split toning returns. Now, you also could change the order of these just on those 3 lines that is to the left of the name of the individual panel. Just drag it around. So let's say that, for example, you want split toning towards the bottom. You could just drag it down to wherever you want it, like right there. Let's drag it all the way to the bottom. And then click Save, and you could see that you're going to have to relaunch Lightroom to see those changes. So I'll just relaunch. And upon relaunch, you see split toning is at the bottom. Now, if you want to get back to the default settings, just right click again, go to Customize Develop Panel, and then right here, go to Default Order, just click that button. It will reorder them in their default locations, and then click Save again. And again, you're going to have to relaunch Lightroom, and I'll relaunch later for this. But you could see that you could have a little more customization of the right-hand panel of the Develop module. The other, like in the Library module, you don't have that same customization options. You only could remove them or go to solo mode, whereas in the Develop module, you could actually reorder them, remove them, go to solo mode, and so on. So you have a little more control there. So that's what I'm going to cover in this video on how you could customize Lightroom's interface. That's what they call it. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments below. And I'd like to thank everyone who watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.